The old oil painting had hung in my grandfather's study for as long as I could remember. A dark landscape of twisted trees and stormy skies, signed with an illegible scrawl in the bottom corner. As kids, my cousins used to joke that it was cursed, that the gnarled branches moved at night when no one was watching. Now, sitting in the lawyer's office for the reading of my grandfather's will, that painting was apparently my entire inheritance. To my granddaughter Alexandra. Mr. Bennett read from the document, "I leave my most treasured possession, the painting from my study. May she understand its true value." My cousin Victoria snickered. The rest of the family shifted uncomfortably in their expensive chairs, trying to hide their amusement. They had good reason to be smug. Victoria had just inherited a portfolio worth $12 million. Her brother Marcus got the summer house in the Hamptons, and my uncle Edward received controlling interest in the family investment firm. Me? I got a dusty old painting that my grandfather had supposedly bought at a yard sale 30 years ago. There must be some mistake, my mother spoke up. She'd been wringing her hands since we arrived, hoping her father had left me something more substantial. Dad promised. The will is quite clear, Mr. Bennett interrupted. The rest of the estate has been distributed as raid. Now, if you'll all sign these documents. I sat quietly, thinking about my last conversation with Grandfather Harrison 2 weeks before he died. He called me to his study, insisting we talk privately. "Alexandra," he'd said, his voice weak but his eyes sharp as ever, "you're the only one who ever asked about this painting. The only one who saw beyond its surface." It was true. While my cousins mocked the dark canvas, I'd spent hours studying it, fascinated by the technique, the layering of colors, the way the light seemed to shift depending on where you stood. I'd even written a paper about it for my art history degree, another choice my family had ridiculed. "What's its story, Grandpa?" I asked that day, knowing he loved to share the history behind his possessions. He'd smiled mysteriously. "After I'm gone, look behind the frame. But tell no one until the time is right." Now, watching my relatives sign papers and calculate their newfound wealth, I remembered his words. "The painting will be delivered to your apartment tomorrow," Mr. Bennett told me. "Unless you prefer to take it now." Victoria laughed openly. "Better clear some wall space, Alex. That thing's huge. Maybe you can sell it at a flea market. Might get enough for a nice dinner." I ignored her, addressing Mr. Bennett instead. "I'll take it now, thank you." The painting was even heavier than I remembered. My mother helped me carry it to my car, her disappointment palpable. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart," she said. "I thought he'd provide for you properly. You know, your Uncle Edward might have an entry-level position at the firm." "It's fine, Mom," I assured her. "Really, this is exactly what I wanted." She looked at me like I was crazy. But I knew what I was doing. That art history degree they'd all mocked. It had led to a job at the city's most prestigious auction house. I'd spent the last 3 years learning about art authentication, restoration, and valuation, and I had a strong suspicion about this painting. Back at my apartment, I carefully examined the heavy wooden frame. It looked original, probably early 19th century. The canvas was age-appropriate too, with the right kind of wear and crackling in the varnish. Taking a deep breath, I gently removed the backing. There, tucked into a hidden compartment, was a yellowed envelope. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a letter, dated 1962, and a small notebook. "Dearest Thomas," the letter began. I recognized my grandfather's name. "The painting is authentic, as you suspected. I've included my full authentication notes in this notebook. The art world believes this piece was lost in a fire in 1827, but your instincts were correct. You have found Blackwood's masterpiece. Guard it carefully. There are those who would kill for this discovery. When the time is right, the truth can emerge. Your friend, Professor James Morton." I almost dropped the letter. Morton was a legendary art historian, known for authenticating several lost masterpieces in the 1960s, and Blackwood. My heart started racing. William Blackwood was one of the most mysterious figures in art history, a reclusive genius who painted only 13 known works before disappearing in 1827. The same year this painting was supposedly destroyed. If this was really Blackwood's lost 14th painting, I pulled out my phone and called the one person I could trust. "Dr. Chen, it's Alexandra Harrison. I need your help with something, privately." Dr. Sarah Chen had been my mentor at the auction house, teaching me everything she knew about art authentication. She arrived within an hour, carrying her testing kit. "This better be good," she said, setting up her equipment. "I canceled dinner with oh my God." She stopped dead when she saw the painting. "Is this what I think it is?" I handed her the letter and notebook. "I need you to verify everything. Paint composition, canvas age, provenance, all of it." The next few hours were a blur of careful tests and detailed examination. Dr. Chen's expression grew more excited with each confirmation. "The paint compounds match exactly with known Blackwood works," she muttered, comparing results. "The canvas is right, the brushwork is consistent. Alex, this is incredible. Where did you get this?" "My grandfather left it to me. Everyone else thinks it's worthless." She looked up sharply. "Does anyone else know about the letter?" I shook my head. "Keep it that way. If this is authentic, and I'm 99% sure it is, we're looking at one of the most important art discoveries of the century. Blackwood's lost masterpiece, Storm over Thornfield. It was his largest work, painted at the height of his career." "What's it worth?" I asked quietly. Dr. Chen let out a long breath. "The last Blackwood to come to market sold for $38 million. But that was one of his smaller pieces, and it wasn't nearly as historically significant. This could break records." I sat down heavily on my couch. "My family thinks I inherited a worthless yard sale painting while they got millions." Then they're in for quite a surprise. Dr. Chen started packing up her equipment. "We need to document everything properly, establish an unbroken chain of ownership. Your grandfather's letter from Morton is crucial. He was the leading Blackwood expert of his time. We'll need to move quickly but carefully." "What's the next step?" "I'll contact a few trusted colleagues for secondary authentication. Then we can discuss auction strategy." "But Alex," she paused at the door. "Don't tell anyone. Not your family, not your friends, no one. Art like this attracts attention. Not all of it good." After she left, I sat staring at the painting. The twisted trees seemed to move in the dim light, just like they had when I was a child. But now I understood what I was seeing. The revolutionary techniques Blackwood had used to create depth and movement, the masterful handling of light and shadow. My grandfather had known exactly what he was doing when he left this to me. He knew I'd understand its value, not just financially, but historically. While everyone else had mocked my interest in art, he'd been preparing me for this moment. My phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. "Hey cuz. Throwing a little celebration dinner tomorrow night. You should come. Might even let you bring that creepy painting." I declined politely, then turned my phone off. Let them celebrate their millions. I had work to do. Over the next few weeks, Dr. Chen and I worked in secret with a small team of experts. Each authentication test confirmed what we already knew. This was unquestionably Blackwood's lost masterpiece. We found more evidence in my grandfather's records. He bought the painting in 1962 from a small antique shop in London, recognizing something in the brushwork that others had missed. Professor Morton's authentication had been kept secret to protect the painting until the right moment. That moment was now. Dr. Chen helped me to arrange a private viewing for the world's top auction houses. The bidding for the right to handle the sale was intense. In the end, we chose Somerset & Co., not just because they offered the best terms, but because they understood the historical significance of the discovery. The announcement was carefully planned. Press releases were prepared, a documentary crew was engaged to film the unveiling, and security was arranged. The art world was about to be shaken to its core. And my family? They were about to learn that sometimes the most valuable things are the ones they overlooked. I scheduled a press conference for the same day as Victoria's housewarming party, an event she'd been planning for weeks to show off the mansion she'd bought with her inheritance. The timing wasn't coincidental. The morning of the announcement, I finally turned my phone back on. Dozens of missed calls and messages, mostly from relatives demanding to know why I'd been so secretive lately. I ignored them all except for one, a text from my mother. "Are you okay? We're worried about you." "I'm fine," I replied. "Watch the news at 2 p.m. Trust me." Then I put on my best suit, took one last look at the painting that had changed everything, and headed to Somerset & Co. for the press conference that would stun the art world. And my family. The Somerset & Co. exhibition hall was packed with journalists, art critics, and collectors. Television cameras lined the back wall, their red lights blinking. My painting, Blackwood's masterpiece, stood covered on an easel at the front of the room. Dr. Chen squeezed my arm reassuringly. Ready? I nodded, checking my phone one last time. Victoria had just posted a photo of her new mansion. Living my best life. Sorry to those about less lucky in the inheritance department. Perfect timing. The Somerset & Co. director stepped up to the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. We're here to announce a discovery that will rewrite art history. As he spoke, I spotted my Uncle Edward slipping into the back of the room. So they'd seen the press release. Good. And now, the director continued, I'd like to introduce Alexandra Harrison, who will share the remarkable story of this painting's journey. I took the podium, my voice steady. In 1827, William Blackwood painted what many considered his masterpiece, Storm over Thornfield. For nearly 2 centuries, the art world believed this work was lost in a fire. Today, I'm honored to announce its rediscovery. The sheet was pulled away. A collective gasp filled the room. Cameras flashed. Art critics leaned forward in their seats, and at the back of the room, my uncle's face went pale. My grandfather, Thomas Harrison, discovered this painting in 1962. Its authenticity was confirmed by Professor James Morton, whose detailed notes we verified through extensive modern testing. Every authentication method confirms this is unquestionably Blackwood's lost masterpiece. Questions erupted from the crowd. I handled them smoothly, drawing on my years of art history education and auction house experience. Yes, we had unbroken provenance. Yes, multiple independent experts had confirmed the authentication. Yes, the painting would be offered at auction next month. Through it all, I watched my uncle frantically texting, no doubt alerting the rest of the family. After the press conference, Dr. Chen showed the technical evidence to the art experts while I gave interviews to major news outlets. My phone was exploding with notifications, but I ignored them all. Then Victoria burst into the exhibition hall, still wearing her housewarming party dress. What the hell is going on? She demanded. That's the ugly painting from Grandpa's study. Ms. Harrison, a journalist called out, is this your cousin? The one who inherited $12 million while you received the painting? Victoria froze, suddenly aware of the cameras. Yes, I smiled. My grandfather had a wonderful sense of irony. Alex, she hissed, grabbing my arm. We need to talk. Privately. I let her pull me into a side room where my Uncle Edward was waiting with my mother. How long have you known? Uncle Edward demanded. About the painting's true identity, since the night of the will reading. About grandfather's plan, he told me no one in the family ever bothered to ask about the art in his study except me. No one looked beyond the surface. But, Victoria sputtered, he bought it at a yard sale. No, I corrected her. He bought it from an antique shop in London after spotting Blackwood's distinctive brushwork. He had it authenticated by the world's leading expert. Then he kept it secret, waiting for the right moment. We need to contest the will, Uncle Edward declared. This clearly changes everything. The will is ironclad, I replied calmly. I've had it reviewed by 3 law firms. Grandfather left specific instructions about the painting. It's mine, legally and irrevocably. My mother stepped forward. Honey, surely we can work something out. Share it among the family. Like you all shared your inheritance with me. I raised an eyebrow. Besides, this isn't just about money. This is a historically significant masterpiece. It belongs in the art world. How? Victoria swallowed hard. How much is it worth? I smiled. The auction estimate is $50 to $60 million. But with its historical significance and the publicity around its rediscovery, it could go much higher. The room went silent. The auction is next month, I continued. You're all welcome to attend. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have more interviews to give. I left them standing there, shell-shocked, but my day of revelations wasn't over yet. The auction room at Somerset & Co. was packed on the big day. The painting had been exhibited worldwide over the past month, drawing massive crowds and media attention. Art historians had written papers about its significance. Museums had begun fundraising campaigns hoping to acquire it. My family sat in the front row, trying to look dignified despite their obvious tension. Victoria kept shooting me desperate looks, while Uncle Edward appeared to be grinding his teeth. The bidding started at $40 million. $45 million, called a museum director from New York. $50 million, countered a collector from London. The room crackled with energy as the price climbed. 60 million, 70 million, 75. Victoria was practically hyperventilating. Her $12 million inheritance suddenly seemed very small indeed. $80 million, a quiet voice called from the back. The crowd turned to see a distinguished older man, the director of the National Gallery. 85 million, the London collector raised. 90 million, the National Gallery director countered. The London collector shook his head. The room held its breath. $90 million, the auctioneer called. Going once. Going twice. Sold. Applause erupted. I stood to shake hands with the National Gallery director. Your grandfather would be proud, he said warmly. This belongs in a museum where everyone can study and appreciate it. I smiled, remembering the hours I'd spent studying the painting in grandfather's study. That's exactly what he wanted. Later that evening, I sat in my apartment reading the flood of press coverage. The art world was celebrating the return of a lost masterpiece. Museums were planning special exhibitions. Historians were revising books about Blackwood. My phone buzzed. A text from Victoria. I'm sorry for everything. You deserve better from all of us. Another from Uncle Edward. You handled this with incredible grace. Your grandfather chose well. And finally, one from my mother. He always said you saw things others missed. I should have listened. I looked up at the space where the painting had hung. Tomorrow, it would begin its journey to its new home at the National Gallery. But its real journey had started decades ago, when my grandfather recognized something special in a dusty canvas and waited patiently for someone else to see it too. The money would be nice. After auction fees and taxes, I'd still clear over $60 million. But the real inheritance wasn't the money. It was the lesson my grandfather had taught me. True value isn't always obvious, and the things people dismiss often hold the greatest treasures. I picked up my phone and replied to my family's messages with a simple invitation. The National Gallery is planning a special exhibition about Blackwood and the rediscovery of Storm over Thornfield. Would you like to attend? I'd be happy to give you a tour. There's so much more to see when you look beyond the surface. One by one, they accepted. Maybe, like the painting, some things just need time and a right perspective to reveal their true worth. My grandfather had understood that. Now finally, so did they. The next morning, as I watched the painting being carefully crated for transport, Dr. Chen stood beside me. You know, she said thoughtfully, your grandfather did more than preserve a masterpiece. He created a perfect lesson about value, patience, and understanding. I nodded. The painting was worthless only to those who didn't bother to look closely, just like my art history degree. She smiled. Speaking of which, the auction house is offering you a position as head of our authentication department. It seems your expertise is suddenly in high demand. I thought about Victoria's mansion, Uncle Edward's business empire, all the things my family had valued above education and understanding. I'll take it, I said. After all, there are probably more overlooked masterpieces out there, just waiting for someone to see their true worth. As I watched the painting leave for its new home, I silently thanked my grandfather for his final lesson. Sometimes the most valuable inheritance isn't what everyone else wants, it's what they're too blind to see. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't proving others wrong. It's proving yourself right.